To federal charges for violating the Clean Water Act, accused of leaking coal ash wastewater into the Dan River, Asheville, Lee, and Riverbend facilities. Company reportedly reaching a deal with federal officials. If they plead guilty, they'll have to pay $102 million in fines and restitution. Meantime, local residents being warned not to use water in their homes because of pollution. Duke Energy says it's delivering bottled water to those affected. Let's talk about what's going to happen later this morning. Corey Rosensteel, partner with Rosensteel Fleischman, here in Charlotte, talking about the hearing gets underway this morning. Thanks for coming in, Corey.
Sure.
So this is a big fine, over $100 million. This is a guilty plea. Walk us through what's going to happen this morning.
It is. Well, they've already got a deal arranged, and so the idea is that the federal judge has to approve that deal, and the expectation is that it will be approved. And what will happen at that point is the judge will assign the penalty, and then Duke will be responsible at that point to follow through with the judgment.
Now, what do you, as far as fines go, they make billions of dollars a year. Is 102? Is that a I don't know if the word's decent, but is that a fair number?
Well, what you've got to look at is what's the extent of the damage. These are misdemeanors. At this point, this is a negotiated penalty. And so this is something that they've gone through with the EPA and with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and both sides have deemed this to be appropriate.
So what happens here with that money? Does it get used to help clean things up?
Well, part of it's just fine money, penalty money. Other parts of it go toward future environmental projects in the state and remediation.
Okay, so the residents there, they've had issues. They get bottled water now as a result of all this coal ash that's been dumped near their land. Could there be civil lawsuits brought against Duke?
This doesn't keep them from having civil lawsuits in the future. So certainly people may consider that. If there are adverse health effects, then that may be something that happens in the future. So
what happens going forward with Duke? They've got to clean this stuff up. It's not something you can do overnight. You don't clean up, all this coal ash. They've given, I guess, a number of years to get it done, but they got to get it done.
That's true. And one of the things that they have hanging over their head is that the federal government does business with Duke, and that has been an issue for them in the process, in that they don't want to lose the ability to do business with the federal government over the years.
So have they made a deal for that? Because if you're saying if they're getting fined, then they're pleading guilty to the environmental destruction or whatever, however you want to put it. Can they do business with the federal government, Duke?
I think that the answer to that is they wouldn't have gone into this agreement if they hadn't worked something out.
So it's an agreement. So it's not a full-on. See, that's what I guess. It's not. They agreed on this. Both sides agreed. Could it have been worse for Duke?
It could have, and it's negotiated. And so anytime you've got criminal cases, it's pretty common for this to happen. I think that one of the things that people wonder about is, well, what about the personal responsibility here? And I think that hits on what you're asking, and how does this work? And it's very difficult to hold a person responsible for corporate action. And it's obviously, over the years, this has been something that's gone on for decades with these coal ash dumps. Who would be a person that you would hold responsible? Is it today's administration? Is it the people who were running the company years ago? It's very tough. It's tough to hold personal responsibility.
Well, that's the frustration, is it not? That you figure someone knew about this and they shoved it under the rug for years, and now finally they admit to it. There's frustration in that.
And I think that the citizens involved are feeling the same frustration that you do as a person who pays money to Duke Energy and then feels like they've been given the raw deal.
Corey Rosensteel, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
Over to Paige.
All right, new this morning.